today we are stepping into the space where narrative meets the soul with Saima. And we have our amazing guest with us, Dr. Albert Bramante, who has spent decades helping high performers break free from the mental scripts that keep them small, guiding them to rewrite their own story, reclaim their worth, and step into the stage of their life as the most authentic self. And together we'll uncover how the tales we tell ourselves can either cage us or set us gloriously free. Albert, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You're warmly welcome. I'm really looking forward to make this a meaningful experience for you. So, Albert, like many of us live inside stories we didn't even write. I'm really curious to know from you that how does storytelling become a tool for spiritual transformation?
Well, storytelling helps us really tell our identity. It helps us solidify who we are. And just a lot of times when we tell our story, we're kind of just not only validating our experience with other people, but even to ourselves. And we're kind of making not just meaning from other things, we're making meaning for ourselves too. So it's a very important process to do that.
That sounds great. And I mean, that's such a powerful perspective. Like you said, I love how you frame storytelling as more than, just words, but as a way to reshape our inner lives. And thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. It builds our inner world and it strengthifies um our inner world and validates it, not again, not just for ourselves, but for other people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, can you recall a client moment where reframing their story changed everything?
Sure. So I was working with and I still have her on my roster, but there was this one actress who I started working with who had when it came down to performing roles, she had a problem with her confidence. Off camera, her confidence was through the roof. I mean, she was uh, in a corporate job. She had a very good reputation in this corporate job, very good following. But when it came
Mm-hmm.
down to performing roles, she just couldn't articulate, and it was coming across as being very not confident and soft spoken. So she was very tiny, and so what I kind of was what coach was I didn't need personally to validate her because she already had that confidence, but we need to transfer that confidence from her personal to the role that she was playing or the role that she was auditioning for, and just bring her real life into the character that she plays. And when she did that, it was a game changer. So a lot of times it really, just even with performing, a lot of it is just stepping inside of your zone or really your essence is what's really important.
Mm-hmm. That's such a touching example, Albert. Like, it really speaks to the heart of your work. And, like, I can already feel the energy shift you just hearing that story.
Thank you. And it was an energy shift just in her performance and in general. And I'm sure it rolled over into other areas of her life because now it validated her ability to secure work as an actress.
That makes sense. Now, suppressed identity often, hides under layers of acceptable behavior. So, how can someone recognize that they're leaving behind a mask?
Well, the one thing is if you're truly not authentically happy with yourself, because a lot of times we go into a cycle of people pleasing, in which what we aim to unfortunately do is stay stuck in making sure other people are happy. And that's not really being authentic with yourself. And so you're suppressing your needs. And that's going to come up. You're going to start experiencing burnout, depression, anxiety, irritability, a whole host of other things too.
Mm-hmm. That was such an insightful way to look at it, Albert. And I think so many people will resonate with what you have just said because we often don't realize that how deeply those acceptable behaviors get like woven into our lives, get interconnected in our lives. They can feel so normal, that sometimes we stop even questioning them, and yet, as you have described, that there's the subtle dissonance underneath, a quiet sense that something is missing or not quite aligned. So I think that's going to land powerfully for anyone listening who's been feeling that tension in their own life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to be a lot of attention there.
Yes. And once they see the mask, how do they find that courage to remove it?
The one thing is to first kind of admit to yourself that it's happening in a sense. So that's the first thing, and then the second thing is slowly taking some actions to to change your life. And once you know the script of the system that you're running in your brain and your nervous system, you can then start to change it by changing certain habits, even on a slowly basis in a sense.
I too feel that, that courage often becomes contagious. Others start to feel permission to do the same.
Hmm. Absolutely. And it's really also about giving yourself the permission to do that.
Absolutely, I too feel the same. Now, you speak about mindful self inquiry as daily inner recalibration. So, what does that look like in real practice?
Well, it looks like just really living your life again on your own terms. And it's all about just being, yourself for who you intended to be. So you're not again living your life for other people. You're not doing it to make other people happy. You're living life on your own terms because the only person you really have to make happy is yourself.
Absolutely, yes. That makes a lot of sense. And I really appreciate the way you have, described that. It, makes that idea so mindful self inquiry feel so tangible and doable at the same time.
Absolutely, 100%.
Hmm. Now, how can, someone keep it from becoming just another task on their to do list?
Yes. I think just by again taking it one day at a time is what really is important.
That makes sense. That's really a refreshing way to look at it. I love how you have like taken something that could easily feel like a chore and reframed it as an act of connection with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Hmm.
Now, redefining our personal script sounds liberating, but also, intimidating. So, where should someone begin with that?
Well, the one thing to be liberating, and that's 100%. That's the way I would describe it as liberating. So even just the self talk that we use ourselves and how we define ourselves and how we describe ourselves, we can start changing based on that, based on in the sense of how we're going to define that, ourself and our identity. So if I'm like, let's say, identify myself as a struggling entrepreneur, the one thing I'm going to have to switch is that struggling word, the word struggling, because if I say that, I'm kind of communicating it to the world, into the universe, that struggling is going to be my main theme. So if I say I'm a thriving or I'm a rising or even a successful entrepreneur, what's going to happen is that I'm going to start believing it internally. And then because I believe that fully internally, I'm then going to start taking a lot of actions, behaviors that are going to match my internal script, which are then going to lead to my success down the line. So it's what we need to do is change our inner world, our inner script, before we can see really any difference in the outer world.
Yes, I love how you're, taken what can seem so daunting and turned into an exciting invitation for growth, Albert. That's going to spark so much inspiration for people listening.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So, have you ever had to rewrite your own script in a major way?
Yes, I had, especially being an author or writing my book. Um, I had to change that to become like to develop the script of an author because for a while I was just kind of beating myself up or procrastinating and saying, I want, I'm going to write a book or I think I'm going to write a book. And it really became to, no, I'm writing a book and I wrote the book. And it wasn't until I really identified and stepped into the identity of an author was when my book finally got published.
Mhm. First of all, congratulations for your book, and that was such a powerful example. And I think, it makes the idea of rewriting your own script so much tangible for people.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And that's the whole thing. It's about creating real life successes.
Yes, definitely. And it's, a reminder that transformation often happens in the very act of telling our story.
Yes. And that's what storytelling is so important because again, it's not, I mean, yes, it helps other people, but even the stories that we tell are really even for our own benefit.
Yes, I agree with that. Now, spirituality and high performance might seem like opposites. So, how do you merge them without losing depth on either side?
Well, I mean, the main thing with tuning into our spirituality because what we're really doing is tuning into our real self and in that aspect. So when we tune into our real self, what's happening is we're really becoming again authentically ourselves. So we're able to become true, not just live from a state of truth, but it really, boils down to our happiness and what can really enable us to sleep at night.
Hmm. I love how you framed that, Albert, because it flips the assumption that high performance means pushing harder, doing more, and running faster. And the way you describe it, tuning into our real self, actually becomes the source of sustainable performance, not something separate from it.
Right. And that's the whole thing. We're not separate from our soul. We are our soul. And I think sometimes because we're so focused in a world that requires like achievement and external validation that we sometimes become disconnected with our soul's purpose.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's going to shift the way a lot of people think about success.
Right. 100%.
Mhm. Now, could this fusion be the secret to both fulfillment and success at the same time?
Oh yes. I mean, and one thing will they'll work hand in hand together because the more that we really fulfill ourselves, what we're gonna really see is more, living our own truth, and that's what's gonna really be successful there too. So when we transform our inner world, we transform our success as well.
Yes, yes, that's such an inspiring way to put it, because it takes this idea of success, which so many people chase in a purely external way, and anchors in it's something deeply personal and lasting. And again, the way you have explained it, like fulfillment, like you have explained it, like fulfillment isn't a nice bonus at the end of the journey. It's actually woven into the very process of achieving. And I think that changes the whole conversation around ambition because it suggests we don't have to sacrifice meaning for accomplishment, right?
Yeah, 100%. It really
Hmm.
gives it that meaning in a sense. So it's really important.
Absolutely. So, listeners, our stories are the invisible architecture of our lives. When we rewrite them with honesty and heart, we don't just change the plot, we change the person living in it. If today's conversation stirred something in you, start by questioning the script you have been given and dare to author the one your soul's been waiting for.